there has been a lot of talk about the Las Vegas Raiders potentially moving to a 3-4 defense, and even more of the articles I read, it's looking more likely, in fact, because, with the recent addition of Graham as the defensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders, as Patrick Graham, that is, I don't know how this is going to go. I know that the Vikings wanted Patrick Graham, and I think he's a big-time get for the Raiders, but I really think that he is going to be more keen, and from what I've seen, at least, he is more keen on a 3-4. The question to me, and I think to everybody else here, is do the Raiders have the personnel to run a 3-4 defense? Well, we decided to take a look at it, and before we get into it, I do want to kind of preface this by saying I was lucky enough to play college football. In my senior year, we made a transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4 in the middle of the season. It was confusing, but it was also a lot of fun because there was a lot of different things that happened. Now, in a normal 4-3, I play defensive end. So in that scenario, obviously just going to rush the passer, couple of plays, drop out into coverage. In a 3-4, not only is it way more confusing for the opposing offensive line for potentially who's coming, but it just creates so much more fun for it. Like, there's just so much more moving parts to it. With the 4-3, you've obviously got, your 4 guys up front, your 3 guys behind. They're all, deciding who's going to blitz, who's going to stay, who's going to cover, all that stuff. In a 3-4, you can throw so much more games. We're talking about your 3 linemen up front, you stacking linebackers on the edges. At any time, it could look like the old Vikings defense with Mike Zimmer. Like, you could rush 7 at one time, and the entire offensive line is just sitting there thinking. I'm telling you this because I just remember us watching tape and just looking at how confused the opposing line, offensive line got because of all the different stunts you can do with a 3-4. Now, I do think it would be very good for the Raiders. I think that, that there's a lot of great things that can come from a 3-4. I also think there's a lot of great things that come from a 4-3. But again, I think the question in everyone's mind is, can the Raiders pull off a 3-4? Well, let's dive right into it. If you take a look right here, you see this is what I projected. Now, I have to start by saying again, this is only a projection. There's some guys that are free agents, I know, but that might not be there. That's fine. But this is if everybody came back, this is what we're looking at. If we're wrong, we're fine with that. But this is like a very loose version. So at edge, the only problem I see is Max Crosby and Unique Ngakoue. Now, Max Crosby, he is that guy that I think could play edge in a 3-4 if he had to. Typically, I think you want your edge players to be a little bit more, a little bit heavier, at least in that 290 range, because it just, you're playing in a different alignment. Like, you are more straight up, and I think it would be to his benefit as to if the Raiders, he's only 6'5", 260, and I say only like that's, he's a big boy, don't get me wrong, but then if you look at a guy, when you're more lined up like that, you want to have a heavier defensive end because they're more lined up in a tackle. I believe that's a 5 tech instead of a normal, what would be like a 5, an outside shade like a 6 or a 6I if there's a tight end, I believe, from my recollection. So overall, there's a lot of different things that go into this, but I will say Max Crosby's best chance, if they do go to a 3-4, might be outside linebacker. It might be edge. The whole thing here is if he can hold an edge, if he can play edge at 260 and hold an edge, I'm talking set the edge in the run game, be able to make his fits, I don't have a problem with it. But I don't know what that's going to look like. Now, my preferred fit here would be Darius Philon. Why? Because when he was on the field, especially against the Chargers game, we saw a lot of good things from Darius Philon. And, I think the biggest thing here is you want to get as many good football players on the field. And I actually want to bring you back here for a second. That should be the goal of any defense. Get your best 11 on the field and see what happens. And I've struggled with this because Max Crosby, Darius Philon, Quentin Jefferson, and Unique Ngakoue, I felt were arguably some of your best defensive line. Jonathan Hankins had his moments, but I just like Darius Philon a little bit better over Hankins. But I figured, obviously you want to get all of your boys on all of your best players on the field. So let's go back to it. Again, I think, having Darius Philon on the edges there, also having Carl Nassib, possibly Solomon Thomas. I feel like he's athletic enough. I think Solomon Thomas would start over Carl Nassib, but that's not the point. I think overall, it's again, the 3-4 is really weird. You get all of your guys that play that play end, or excuse me, that play tackle are probably going to play end, and they're a little bit heavier, 280, 290, 300. And it's a lot more fun because you get those big guys that go up against the tackles that aren't going to be pushed around. And I'm not saying, Max Crosby and Unique Ngakoue are pushed around, but I mean, as opposed to Quentin Jefferson, Solomon Thomas, and potentially a guy like Darius Philon, I don't know. But overall, I think this is very intriguing when you think about it. Again, I think the thing with Max Crosby, I think you could potentially see this man more of an outside linebacker, maybe edge, again, if he can fit in the run game. That's where this all comes together. And I think Unique Ngakoue would go more out to an outside linebacker, whether that's right or left. It doesn't matter to me. And then you look at the linebackers here. So Diablo, again, never say his name right, would be there, I think, as an outside linebacker coming off the edge. Malcolm Koontz, that's another thing. That's another guy you want to get on the football field. We made a video about him, the fact that they need to get him on the field because he just, in the limited time he saw, he was just making plays and creating havoc. I think you want to get a guy like him on the outside. Unique Ngakoue and Malcolm Koontz, ooh, man, maybe Diablo in there as a blitzer too. Maybe have him as an inside linebacker. That's what I'm talking about. Is there's so many different things you could run here. It could be potentially very fun. But I think also, obviously you got Denzel Perryman at that inside linebacker, right or left, doesn't matter. And you got Nick Kwiatkowski. I'd never say his name right. Also, Nicholas Moreau at inside linebacker. Now, those two, I think you're probably going to want to be finding a little bit of a replacement. Probably put Diablo in there. I don't know who you'd want to be out there, but I think those are, there's a lot of different things, but that's kind of what I'm just a very preliminary finding of what I'm seeing here for the Raiders if they want to indeed run the 3-4. So, it could be very interesting. I feel like, Diablo with his speed off the edge could be a lot of fun. Also, Malcolm Koontz, again, made a video about him, figured he would be a really good fit for the outside. And can you imagine that, though? Max Crosby, all those boys, Unique Ngakoue, Malcolm Koontz, and Unique Ngakoue on two, both coming off the edge. Oh, baby, that's me. That is nasty. And then you got corners, Casey Hayward Jr. I penciled him in here. I don't know that he's actually going to be the starter. I also have to say I'm sorry about the Nate Hobbs mistake yesterday. I made a fool of myself. I'm sorry. I know Nate Hobbs was one of the. I think he was over a 78 PFF grade. He's one of the best. I think he was the best, highest graded corner for the Raiders. Anyway, we're sorry. Sorry about Nate Hobbs. But back to it here. Obviously, Nate Hobbs starting at that other position there, and Casey Hayward is penciled in. Obviously, you guys, whether it's Brandon Fasay's son, I believe that's how I say his name, Desmond Trufant, Amik Robertson, whoever you want to throw in there. But I feel like, okay, you have a guy like Nate Hobbs in there. That's okay. You're going to take him and leave him there. After that, I figure you go out and draft somebody. But that's the point. This is very preliminary. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. So, yeah, you got your two corners, Casey Hayward and Nate Hobbs. Jonathan Abram out there at strong safety, and Trayvon Moehrig. God, I love Trayvon Moehrig. I really do. I love Trayvon Moehrig. I feel like this could be kind of a unique defense. Now, again, there's a couple pieces you could look to upgrade here. Possibly get a guy like Jordan Davis, like we talked about with the Raiders. Getting him in there to play nose. Oh, man. Oh, that's scary. Jordan Davis, Quentin Jefferson, Jonathan Hankins, all those boys in the middle, Darius Philon on the edges. Oh, man, that's just scary. Taking up double teams, having, all those boys in the middle come up. Like this is intriguing. Like, that is very intriguing. And at the very least, it would be very interesting to see. But that's our very preliminary look at a Raiders 3-4 defense. And again, the 3-4 just allows you to do so much more, whether it's, again, walk those linebackers up. And you can do that with the 4-3 too, but, the linemen, specifically the offensive linemen on the opposing team, they have to really know, all their options, who could potentially come, loops, all that stuff. And I think it would really help out the Raiders on the edge with Unique Ngakoue and Malcolm Koontz. I think those two could really feast on this because, again, those linemen have to figure out what's going on. They have to figure out who's coming, who's staying, who's not going at all. So I think it would be it's intriguing. I don't necessarily what this translates to. I have a couple questions. Obviously, they're going to have to draft a couple more guys, sign a couple more guys to make this work, but it would be intriguing. We think it would be a lot of fun. But let us know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are truthfully awesome. We love every single one of you. Make sure you guys also in the description down below, you find all of our social media platforms, so give us a like and a follow there. Also in the description down below, you'll find our link to our iTunes. Give us a listen and sub there. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put it in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about if the Las Vegas Raiders can, in fact, run a 3-4 defense.